Hey, I'm Roman, and I'm sitting here painting with Erik Swinson. You might know him. He is teaching here in Augsburg for 2 weekends, and I was attending one class. It was fabulous. We are sitting here painting together during the week, and I decided to do a small interview with him. Have a look, enjoy. We will just sit there, paint, and talk.
I'm just a guy that likes painting figures, and I like painting a lot. I'm known for my dry brush.
Yeah, absolutely. Your dry brush skills are insane. Question number 4. What makes a good painted miniature for you?
And who are the best miniature painters, or who are my favorite miniature painters? Or
Did you paint very focused while doing the interview?
No,
me neither. It's just like,
we have plenty of time. We can treat this as a very casual conversation if you want.
yeah. All right. I do have some questions to Erik. And I will start with mine, and later on I will check back with what you guys wrote on Instagram. First of all, Erik, it's a pleasure to have you. I am enjoying every moment at the painting table with you, and it's good to get to know you more and more. And I thank you very much for the lesson you taught on the weekend. The crowd over here really enjoys that. So, welcome.
Well, thanks for having me. It's a lovely studio, and it's been very relaxing to just get back to some normalcy during a long trip.
I mean, this guy is painting all the time. He's the craziest painting machine I know, and also in a quality that it's impressive to watch, to observe, to say at least. All right, I do have some questions for you. Let me start with, when and how did you start with miniature painting?
So I started with scale models as a teenager. I did a couple car models, and then got into doing Gundams. And then in my 20s, a good friend of mine kind of presented the idea of Warhammer to me because he knew I liked doing scale models. Mm-hmm. So he was like, hey, would you like to try this game that, you have to build and paint your own figures for?
So when did you start with fantasy or 40K or something? Or
40K, my first army. Okay, I'll preface this. So in Gundams, there's this culture of garage kits, mm-hmm. where if you know how a lot of Gundams are made, they have like an internal skeleton, mm-hmm. and then it's typical for people to make like conversion kits that you take the internal skeleton of one kit and then you apply like resin parts over top, mm-hmm. of the plastic skeleton.
Okay. So
that carried over immediately into Warhammer, and I discovered Forge World right away. And my first army was a all Forge World Nurgle Death Guard army.
All Forge World?
Yeah.
Okay. Nice. So going full in, you can say.
Yeah.
That's nice. So it was a hobby for you back then, like enjoying gaming also. Like, did you play?
Oh yeah, I was serious. I tend to be a bit competitive at anything I do.
Okay. So
yes, I played in tournaments and did all that.
How did you come up with becoming a professional miniature painter?
Oh, I actually never thought I would be. I told myself I would never become a professional miniature painter because I had done some commission work at like my local store just for army stuff, and I was like, this is miserable. I don't want to paint units of guys for a living. And then eventually Privateer Press asked me to do some contract work for them just for some box arts. Mm-hmm. And I said yes, because you get to paint like one character here and there. Mm-hmm. It's not like doing a 10-man unit. Even I'll give you a little secret. Even when we do the units, a lot of them have like the same sculpt. We only paint each sculpt once, and then they just Photoshop them together.
Makes completely sense. Yeah. Saves the painter's nerves, you can say, I think. But I think it's something that I also kind of enjoyed, is like stepping out from painting armies into painting character figures, kind of,
Yeah.
which is like really also made a big difference for me. I can see that. And I mean, what is your actual situation as a professional? I mean, your work is everywhere. Your work is beautiful to see, and you win big prizes, and you're in everybody's, like, when it comes to painting, you are one to look up to. So that's at least what I can say from my perspective. I've seen you grow over the last decade, and it's beautiful to see where you've grown. It's like Erik Swinson is like a big name in the miniature painting world. So where do you see yourself at the moment after you started with Gravity Press as a professional?
I try not to think about it too much. To be honest, like I don't. I'm just a guy that likes painting figures, and I like painting a lot.
He does.
And if anything, it's like I just like pushing myself. I like learning. So it doesn't really have much to do with like contests. Contests are like a way for me to show my work and see other people's work in person and meet with friends. And also I like working under deadlines.
Yeah.
So having a deadline to be like, okay, I need to finish this figure for this show gives me like the fuel, the energy. To push through on a piece and get it done.
That's cool. Yeah.
But yeah, I don't really, I mean, one time ever have I been like, this figure is for a contest.
Which one was it?
Specifically was the Tauren that I did for Monte. It was like, that's the one time where I was like, yes, I'm painting this to try and win, and not just like I'm just having fun doing my best. Like there was a bit of a different mindset going into that figure.
I mean, it shows you kind of, I think you won Best of Show with that one.
Yeah.
Best of Monte. And I can remember that moment when you were like holding this up. I was there in the crowd too, so it was beautiful to see. And
I believe you were a judge that year.
I think it was a judge, yeah. I remember. I start forgetting things with having a baby at home. So what happened back then? Yeah. No, it's a beautiful piece. Teal or orange?
Teal. I legally have to say that because of my chimera color.
Okay. All right. Volume or shape?
Volume.
Okay. Dwarves or elves? You can say orcs.
Orcs.
Are you more the type of dinosaurs or spaceships?
Spaceships.
Spaceships. With a crew of dinosaurs.
Spaceships that are in the shape of humans.
Okay. VR or nature?
Nature.
Okay. That was the first round of shorts. So question for you. What do you enjoy or like the most as having miniature painting as a job?
What do I enjoy the most? I will say I am a bit lucky in my position that I'm able to kind of pick and choose the projects that I want. I know not everyone who does this for a living has that freedom to say like, yeah, this one doesn't really interest me, or so I have enough work lined up that I can pick. Yeah.
Look how strong I am. There, okay. Just crushed this up here. What? Okay.
So
that's nice.
So yeah, like I get to, I mean, obviously I'm known for certain types of figures a little more than others because, people will associate a certain style or
a certain theme.
A certain theme with you, yeah. But yeah, I like painting lots of different subjects, and because I find new subjects and another opportunity to learn on. Yeah.
Are you also, for example, you're now painting a fantasy gladiator, as you can say, which is a beautiful, beautiful sculpt, and also your paint shop was
by Victor Aguilar, by the way.
By Victor Aguilar. I was able to witness how this went so far, and it's really beautiful to watch this grow, and also to follow Erik's progress on this. Do you now dive into reading a little bit about the history of gladiators, even if she's just a fantasy gladiator, about material they wore, or have you done that before, or is this a part of your process?
I think it's a part of my process. There's obviously even fantasy is inspired by reality. So when you paint a fantasy gladiator, there's some materials that I want to get right. Like she's got this scale mail thing on her waist that's probably not historically accurate, but like her arm is made out of, she's got this like padded arm guard, which I don't remember the actual name, but I looked up, and they're typically made out of some kind of woven canvas or something. So to paint it leather would seem wrong.
Yeah, makes sense. Does make sense.
But yeah, it gives the opportunity to like play with different materials and learn something about these kind of characters, even if the character is exaggerated in a way.
Thank you for enjoying my videos. Please know that you can help this channel grow by writing a comment and pressing thumbs up if you're enjoying this video. For further support, you can become a channel member here on YouTube for €1.99 a month, or go all in and support me via my Patreon and benefit from regular artist diary, creative challenges, and deep insights into my workflow. Have a look, and thank you for your support. I'm just slapping my environment on the walk. I think this is perfect green for this thing I imagine actually.
Just this like camo-y green, yellow green.
That's how I see the forest. I hope Gabi agrees, and all the others too.
All right, I'll agree with that
somehow.
Let's go. I'll do the same.
Yeah, I got him here. So, but you can still paint on her. So don't worry. The owl is fixed. Yeah, we're not allowed to dry brush the owl, please.
Okay. I'm known for my dry brush.
Yeah, absolutely. Your dry brush skills are insane. Next question. Question number 4.
Are we recording?
Yeah, we're recording. Let me check back. We are recording. Question number 4. What makes a good painted miniature for you?
Oh, I don't know. For me, like of my own figures, or just any figure.
What do you like? I mean, for example, not any figure. I would rather say maybe it helps to imagine yourself in a judging position or in an observing position and saying, hey, I browse Instagram or I'm judging at a contest and this is a good figure for me, and this is maybe a not so good figure for me. So what makes a painted figure good for you?
I think first and foremost is like you have to show multiple skills and understanding to make a good figure. It's not any one thing, right? You can't just make a good figure by just blending perfectly if you don't understand how light and volume works and how contrast and ambience, but then you can get into composition and material rendering and all these other things. I think the best answer I can give for what makes a good figure is, does the person's intention come across?
Okay. That's good.
So
makes sense. Yeah.
If they try and paint, I mean, you could paint like Van Gogh on a figure, If it doesn't look like, and you try and paint like Van Gogh and it doesn't look like Van Gogh, then it's maybe not so good, right? Like if you try and paint a figure like, I don't know, Caravaggio and
and it shows.
Then yeah, I think that's a good figure of like, maybe it's not your own style or something, but yeah, there's so many factors involved. It's really hard to pinpoint exactly because there's so many different styles and everything that you can't just say any one thing. It's really a combination of everything that makes a good figure. And sometimes it's like, is it even a figure, right? Like, I could use your framed dioramas as an example. It's like, that's a combination of 30 figures.
True,
right? So it's not it's not just a figure at that point. Then it's, how well do the figures fit together? How well does the composition work? How's the, does it pull focus in the right areas? Does it lose focus in the right areas?
I like what you said. Like, if the intention of the person comes through, that's really like that's really good, because it does not exclose anything from it. It's very inclusive, saying, okay, if your intention is this, like going Van Gogh, and you go Van Gogh, and it's there, then it makes sense. So I think this is really a beautiful description. I didn't expect this answer, to be honest. That's a very open and beautiful description, and it makes absolutely sense.
But if your intention is to paint a bad figure, then it's still a bad figure.
Correct. Correct. Well, that's beautiful. Is there a favorite tip, or what is your favorite tip you want to give to a beginner painter nowadays? What is the thing you suggest for best improvement, you can say? Like, I sometimes have the feeling nowadays everybody wants to learn how to paint a great Space Marine in 2 seconds. And
wait, here's my tip, and this is bad for both of our business.
Okay.
Stop watching so many YouTube videos and just start painting.
Beautiful. I mean, that's an important tip. Yeah. Beautiful. Paint as much as you can say. Yeah. So, I mean, you're the best example.
But there is a difference between just painting. I mean, that'll teach you certain skills like brush control and things, and intentional practice. Intentional practice is a whole nother thing.
What do you mean with intentional practice? I might think I know what you mean, but
intentional practice is like, you want to learn a specific subject, like you want to learn OSL, which, by the way, learning OSL is just learning how light works. In fact, most of painting is just learning how light works. But like practicing that specific thing over and over and over again until you feel like you've at least proficient in it. And then you layer your skills on top of each other.
Yeah.
Like, you can paint 1,000 Space Marines, but all you're going to learn how to do is paint a Space Marine.
Yeah, and maybe faster.
Yeah,
I know what you mean. It's something that I also always say to a lot of people that I meet, is like, just by watching one YouTube video and doing this once or twice, you didn't learn anything. It's like, I think learning, the phrase of learning is misunderstood nowadays, that some people think if I watch a YouTube video and I'm painting this once, I've learned something. You learn something if you can use it without thinking on it.
Yeah, learning is it requires understanding.
Correct. And understanding requires reputation and knowledge that builds up from that. So you don't go into you don't look in your toolbox and grab a screwdriver and you usually use it without thinking about how to use it, because you've done it so often that you know what to do with this tool. And the same it happens, I think, with painting techniques, painting knowledge about light, volume, shapes, color, everything. Everything plays together in that toolbox. So, and I see so many people who try to learn too fast without that specific focus. Like saying, I mean, I've been there and said, okay, I want to get better with my skin tones. Let's paint more skin tones. Yeah, that's precise learning, you can say. Cool. A question from one of my students I was actually teaching yesterday online, from Tobias. Do you have a favorite canvas painter? If so, why that person?
I could say... This is hard because I have like different periods where I would say I have my favorites.
Mm-hmm.
Like in terms of fantasy, like obviously you could say like Frank Frazetta because he's like the godfather of fantasy
Art, kind of
art, yeah, and painting. Or I could say as a modern or more contemporary artist, someone like Jesper Reisling or Wei Wang. In case you don't know, one does a lot of artwork for Magic the Gathering. The other one did all the like cover artwork for all the World of Warcraft games and
okay, so really modern stuff.
Yeah.
Okay.
But then I could go, if I wanted to go more classical, I could say like John Senior Sargent or Caravaggio. You know.
Nice. And I mean, you don't have to explain me why Frazetta, because Frazetta, I think it doesn't need explanation. But why Caravaggio, for example?
Caravaggio, for me, is like I'm very interested in lighting. And for me, he was like one of the best at just portraying light. Like really dynamic light also. Like as I found his technique very interesting. Like if you dive into his style, he was actually known as kind of a fast painter. And I'm sure you're familiar, but maybe some people listening aren't familiar with what a grisaille is. But it's basically a black and white underpainting that then you apply oil over top of. Caravaggio would skip that step and just grisaille directly in color, which is something I do. So yeah, I think he seemed, when you look at his work, he's very focused on like form. And though I'm not a massive fan of like the chiaroscuro style on figures, in canvas or fine art, like it's extremely dynamic and
impactful because the harsh contrast. Yeah. In figures, it sometimes loses something somehow.
I think it's really difficult on figures, and I've tried it because there's something to part of what makes chiaroscuro work in canvas is the idea of like lost edge, where forms like lose their shape as they like shadow forms lose their shape as the silhouette transitions into the background. And when you have a three-dimensional object, that has hard borders, it's very difficult to like soften shapes just through painting, right?
Yeah, correct. All right. Let's check back with some questions on. I cannot take all of these in. I try to avoid similar ones, so please apologize if you are not in that list. But still, I hope this interview is interesting for you. Same Toad on Instagram is asking, where do you think the US mini painting community will be in 5 years?
Where do I think? I mean, it's growing rapidly already. Well, I think it's interesting because it's like this pendulum. Like at one point in historical painting, the U.S. historical painting community was considered like the top, right? And then more and more of the European community. And then I think really during the era of Golden Demon, where the US did not have Golden Demon and there was like 8 Golden Demons happening in Europe like every year, I think is when it like really thrived over here. And you could say that we got left behind a little because of that. And now I think it's like catching up like
Rapidly.
Yeah. Especially the COVID years was crazy. Like so many new people in the hobby, and so much access to information now. Like it's just quickly growing. And one thing about Americans is that we don't care where you're from. If you have information that you can provide us, we are happy to learn from anyone, right? So we will bring teachers from anywhere. And
you got some big conventions and shows that actually focus on that.
Yeah.
So that's beautiful. That's beautiful. All right.
I mean, just this year at Monte alone, we went from my first Monte, there was 2 Americans in 2019. This year we had 15 to 20, I think.
Okay. And it's such a special place.
Yeah.
That's quite a number. That's true. Yeah. That's true. Same for me. I see more and more people from the US coming over for such shows. It's like I met Dave, who won Best in Standard.
The Daves.
The Daves, the 2 Daves at Nova Open several years back. And now I meet them again in Monte, which is beautiful. Like really, really beautiful. Next one. Mr. Q Quentin is asking, what is your current focus in your painting?
Finishing this figure.
Okay.
Most of the time, it's finishing whatever project I'm working on. I don't have like a current. I would have said 5 years ago or 6 years ago that I was doing more of this deliberate practice where I was like trying to learn very specific topics. Now it's applying everything together and just learning, maybe like trying to find something from different styles and how to interpret that into my own style, or so I think that would be my answer, is just like,
yeah, but it's a good answer. It's I think it's something where you usually cannot put a finger on, because it's like a fluid process from project to project, something. And when you're focused on painting, like I see how focused you are while painting since days now, it's like, of course, finishing is one thing, but you usually never bring in a lot of new tricks that you experiment with, because you have to finish this as your job. Like, it's a professional piece, it's a box art, so you are also not allowed to, I wouldn't say allowed, but you would not experiment saying, okay, let's try to paint with watercolors on this if you don't know your tools. So yeah, I like your initial answer was the best. Like, yeah, finishing this figure. I think that's beautiful. All right, Valley of Wolves asks, you can only bring 3 tools, 1 paint brush, 5 paint colors, and 3 minis to a desert island. Which ones? Let's start with the 3 tools.
Okay. How big can the tools be?
There is no limitation.
I don't know what the exact term is, but what's the tool that removes salt from water?
Yeah, I know what you mean. That makes sense. Okay.
I'll take that. I'll take a wet palette with an unlimited supply of paper. And the brush was included in my tool?
The brush was included.
Yeah.
It's 3 tools, 1 paintbrush.
3 tools.
So you can have a third tool.
And how am I getting figures to paint?
Yeah, that's wild.
A 3D printer, I guess. Do I get an internet connection?
Or at least you bring a setup for 3D printing with a hard disk full of files.
Yeah.
And enough resin
to last me a while.
Yeah.
All right.
Which paintbrush would you take? Which size or?
Size 3 Artis Opus is my general purpose brush.
Okay.
I can paint a Space Marine or a big bust with it. It doesn't really matter.
That's good. So it's a rather bigger brush.
I would say it's probably similar to a size 2 Winsor & Newton.
Yeah. Okay. That's good. And 3 minutes. We can skip the minis thing because we have a 3D printer now. But we can go for the 5 paint colors. Which colors would you take?
If I could only bring 5, then I'm bringing cyan, magenta, yellow, black, and white.
Well, listen to that. Okay. HGN Plays asks, do you struggle often with I have to be good?
Do I have to be good? No. I would say no. I don't feel any pressure on myself to be good. The only person putting pressure on myself to be good is me. Mm-hmm. To just constantly trying to improve. It has nothing to do with the public opinion of I don't care who people think are the top 5 miniature painters in the world. Mm-hmm. It's purely just I want to keep improving.
Yeah.
I get pushed when I see something like a piece from Marker or a piece from Albert, that I go okay, that's crazy.
It's inspiring. Yeah. It's also an interesting one with Volio's question is, hi, I'm 1 year into the hobby. My question is it good to have a lot of VIP projects? I do that a lot.
A lot of VIP?
Work in progress projects.
Oh, work in progress.
WIP, my English again.
Wit. No. I basically never have work in progress. I have typically 1, sometimes 2 if I'm streaming a project. My work in progress don't last. I like finishing figures. Sometimes because my job demands it, but even when it's not related to my job, I tend to be very focused on something. So if I'm working on my kill team, that's what I'm doing.
Yeah.
So that I can finish it and then move on. Because I think, though it doesn't take much thinking, active thinking while painting a figure, right? I can kind of go on autopilot and paint, but it does take mental focus to work on a piece, and I tend to, if I set a figure down or a project down to work on something else, I don't often have the desire to go back to the previous piece.
Yeah, I see that problem. I mean, like I said to you, I find it really inspiring how focused you are, because I'm playing a lot of what I call whip ping pong. I'm playing around with many started projects, and this can get confusing. At least when you didn't learn how to kind of handle yourself. If you're comfortable with it, that's fine. But I'm really inspired by your focus, because it's just like you're finishing that stuff off from the table. That's beautiful. So my recommendation would also be, I'm also trying to get back to this a little bit more, really focusing on pieces and finishing some stuff off. And less project ping pong for me. Learn from Erik. Listen to that. Wise words. David McGestas asks, what part of the creation process do you enjoy the most?
I don't know. That's a tough question. I enjoy the whole thing.
I mean, that's beautiful. That's a good answer.
The most? Yeah,
I mean, some could say, for example, yeah, for me it's best to paint eyes. Others would hate eyes or skin or.
I mean, yeah, there's certain things I don't enjoy painting as much because they can be a little tedious. Like I don't love painting giant wings. Like there's too many little surfaces and details. It takes forever. But as far as most, I don't know. Yeah.
I mean, if you love everything, that's beautiful. This is beautiful. Next one. Again, David is asking two questions. Next one is, have you ever thought about radically changing your painting style? If yes, what would you do about that?
No. I think your style is something that is constantly changing anyways, or evolving. So I don't think I would radically change my style. And style is an interesting topic anyways, because style is more like doesn't have much to do with like necessarily your understanding. It's more about like how the kind of brushstrokes you make, maybe the color selections you choose, and yeah, I feel like to really change your style radically, you would have to like change the way you paint. Like switching to an entirely different, like
holding your brush differently and going like this.
Or like changing to using oils all the time.
Yeah.
Would change my style.
Yeah. Makes sense. This is good.
It's not like an artist, right? Or like as a painter. You could say it's more like a colorist, really. Like, yes, we have to do some like interpretations and like volume interpretation, and we can change things on a figure through the way we apply light and shadow and blah blah blah. But it's not like an illustrator that can literally like when they change the style is like how they choose to change form and like
how they interpret form and
how they interpret or like how they use more curved lines instead of straight lines and create soft edges and
or have a blue face and then
yeah,
makes sense. This makes sense.
Or draw realistic versus cartoony, you know, like do I change my style by choosing to paint a cartoony figure versus a a realistic figure? Is that actually your style that you change? Or is it just the same style on a different canvas? You know,
That's good. David has 3 questions. Okay, David, last one. How does Erik manage the desire to want to do several projects at the same time?
Doesn't happen.
You don't have to desire.
Nope. I do one project basically at a time. And everything is scheduled.
Yeah. Focus.
Yeah.
Focus.
After this one, I know what the next one is. And after that one, I know what the one after that one is. And I know that for the next probably 3 or 4 months. You know, depending, and I know what figures I'm going to be painting for the next 6 months or something. I just don't know necessarily in what order that's going to be. The life of a commission painter.
Yeah, but at least it's like it's all models that you picked. I think you don't pick models that they don't.
Yeah,
you don't feel comfortable with, or that they don't call you. But it's something I always say, like I don't hear them, I don't feel them. And then it's another good thing to paint them.
Well, sometimes I like to pick figures that I might be a little uncomfortable painting.
Okay.
Because
the challenge.
Yeah. Pushing yourself outside of your comfort zone is when I think you learn the most. So I enjoy the challenge. Very recently, there was a figure I did for Black Crow by Raul Latore, the one with the beetle armor, the like iridescent beetle armor, and many people made comments about how this figure looked like it was a nightmare to paint. And honestly, I quite enjoy. I also thought it was going to be a nightmare before I started it, and was like, no, I'm going to take this figure on. I think I'll enjoy the challenge, and then it ended up being quite enjoyable to paint.
Okay. Lead White is asking, will we see more expressive miniatures appreciated at competitions? For example, Mark Maskland's Wolverine.
Yeah, I would say so. For example, Mark Maskland's Wolverine, like, as in, yes, Mark Maskland's Wolverine won a Platinum Award at Monte. I'd say that's pretty appreciated. Yeah, I think for sure. I think it depends on the contest and how open-minded the judges are. That's really the important part. It's not so much. It has nothing to do with the contest itself. It has everything to do with who the judges are. Judging.
Yeah. Erik, we saw in Monte San Savino, you brought a very special project there. You even put it on fire or something, and it was a very dramatic moment. Would you like to explain a little bit what was the plan and the goal behind the specific project that you brought?
Yeah, so Lucas Zaba has like a series of candle figures that he made. One's on a slug, the other's like a king, this one's a knight. And when I saw the first one, he sent me an early copy of one of them. And as soon as I saw it, I had the idea, like, what if we made it into an actual candle and just burned it at a contest? So the idea of, like, Lucas, of course, was like, yeah, sure, let's go for it. Like, you can use the same silicone mold to pour wax into as you do resin. So the molds were already made for it. All you had to do was buy some candle wax to pour a new copy, right? Which, by the way, it was annoying to paint on the wax.
Did you prime it?
No, I didn't want to prime it because I was worried about, like, the chemicals in the primer reacting to the flame where I knew the actual acrylics wouldn't, like, smoke or anything. I tested on, like, to see if they would, like, put off any sort of weird fumes once they dry. And I did a little research online. They all said it was fine.
That's good.
There's no these are non-toxic.
Yeah. I was just imagining in my brain, like, everything going up in flames and the full room in Monte San Savino, like, burning down to the ground.
But I mean, I entered in storytelling as kind of like a tongue-in-cheek way of just being like, it's just another figure, right? Like, we sometimes treat these as, like, these competitions and our art is, like, sacred sometimes, and sometimes you can just paint a figure for the enjoyment of painting the figure, and it doesn't have to be some, like, super deep underlying message to everything. Like, just enjoy the fact that, like, I got to sit and just enjoy painting the figure, like, and then I got a medal out of it, so I did get something in return for it. But in the end, like, the figure, half of it melted, and like, I can't sell it, or maybe someone would want to buy
it carries an important message. I think it's like, focus what is the things you really like about this passion, and it's the painting aspect. It's not the value that might be credited afterwards or not. So.
I actually intentionally did not publish anything on Instagram. Like, I wanted the figure to exist, like, only in that moment. So there's no Instagram post about it. No.
I've seen a short video of when you kind of lit that up somewhere. I didn't know where.
I posted a story. I know other people posted like permanent. You can find You can find it on Instagram, but not on my account. I posted it as a story because I knew it would be gone in 24 hours.
It's wild.
Like playing with the idea that even the story is temporary.
No, that's beautiful. That's beautiful. It breaks it down to really what is important in that thing. It's like we sometimes tend to take these things too important. Like what you said, like the value that might be credited on a show. It's almost like, of course I have to make the connection. It's almost like a Banksy, like an art attack. Something.
Yeah, some people compared it to that.
Kind of, which is like a compliment, I think, and it's beautiful. What we have, I am tasty breads. Breads. I am tasty breads asks, what do you do to avoid or to get rid of hobby fatigue?
There's no such thing. It's my living, so I don't have that option. There is. It's discipline, not motivation.
Mm-hmm.
It's like going to the gym. How do you avoid getting fatigued at the gym? You don't. You just learn to live with it.
Yeah.
And push through.
It used to be gray, asks, how long is your beard?
It was longer, actually. I cut like 6 inches off of
6
it.
inches? Okay, that's quite
It
a lot.
was like down to here. I don't know. How long? Like 10 centimeters? Something like that? We can measure it. Do you want?
There you go. A very intense.
Oh, we've got inches and...
and centimeters.
All right, we'll start on the centimeter side. All right, so right now it's about, on average, it looks to be about 15
centimeters.
Yeah.
Okay.
And in inches, that's going to be what? About 6 inches? Yeah.
And you cut 6 inches away.
Yeah, it was like a foot at one point.
Okay. So this is like a very interactive answer. I like that. I like that. Crazy. I have beard envy right now because I had to cut mine because of my
It was
son.
probably like 10, and then I cut 6 off, and then it's grown back a little. I mean, I haven't cut it since I've been here for 45 days. 45 days of beard growth is...
It does.
Yeah,
it does. It does. We stick with your beard.
all right, here we go.
Someone named Tanya is asking,
Tanya,
what conditioner does he use?
What is it? Is it Dove or is it something else? I don't know. It's in a blue bottle. It's a men's 2-in-1 shampoo and conditioner. The same one I use for my hair. Nothing fancy.
Okay. Nothing like beard balm or whatever stuff.
No, it's just men's 2-in-1 conditioner, shampoo and conditioner.
That's good. Tanya, my wife.
That Tanya.
That Tanya. We are very unsure.
Does she have a
recommendation?
Yeah.
You can talk to her later on. What do you enjoy most about teaching your passion?
What do I enjoy? I enjoy those epiphany moments. You know, those moments where you explain something and it's like they're like they understand the words, but they don't necessarily like know how to use the information yet. Mm-hmm. And then when you see it like click and they go like, oh, that's what he meant. Like that's why those are the best.
Yeah, I agree. That's lovely. How do you call them?
Epiphany.
I always call them click moments. But yeah, epiphany. That's good. So tell us about your best travel experience as a miniature painting teacher and the worst.
Well, the worst happened recently when I was staying in Madrid, and we all went out to lunch, and the Monday after the class, like me and half the class got food poisoning. So that was pretty bad. I would say that was the worst one.
That's painful. Yeah.
Yeah. Not to say anything bad about the food in Madrid, but
bad luck, I think.
Yeah, it was just bad luck. The best, I think the best was actually in Barcelona, like right after. Mark's community is like really, like they seem really close.
Mm-hmm.
Like they really seem to feed off each other, and like they were one of the most like vocal classes. Like they all, it felt like teaching a group of friends.
Okay, almost like family. That's how they appear on shows or something.
Yeah, like they really felt like. I mean, there were experiences like even here where you had like maybe little groups of people that knew each other already that were taking the class, but it was like the whole class like knew each other and were all excited, and that led to like everyone in the class like really pushing each other and like going around and like seeing how everyone else was doing. Yeah, I think that was probably the best experience.
That's cool. But is there like something last that you want to just add or say?
I get so like, because we got a question that I refused to answer.
Mm-hmm.
You guys won't find out the question. But I get often asked, the question of and I'll tell you what it is. Who are the best miniature painters, or who are my favorite miniature painters, or who do you take inspiration from? Like, and I think if we really want to push the miniature art, if you want to call it that, we have to like look outside the miniatures world, right? Like, there's only so much you can learn from
the inside of it.
The inside. We have to start stepping out a little. So that's a big thing for me. I take much more inspiration from comic books or movies or photography or
even nature sometimes.
Yeah.
That's I agree. That's a lovely tip. Did you paint very focused while doing the interview? No, me neither. It's just like,
I did for a while. I painted her bracelets, and then I was like, and I painted this little belt buckle, and then I was like, I need another color, and I don't want to sit here like shaking a bottle.
Yeah. I had the same. It was like I tried to look focused, but it was just like slapping on paint. But well done. Thank you very much. Thanks, and thank you for watching. We are saying goodbye. Goodbye. Over here. Goodbye. Okay.
Love the chase and the hunt, and I set the pace when I'm running. I always take what I want and I always give it 100. Don't need a bank, no, I'm funded. Play the game like it's nothing. I'm always thankful for something. Don't take for granted, stay humble. Now wake up.
And I can say I'm nervous, so I need to find a brush, drink some Red Bull,
because that's gonna help.
Mm-hmm.
It's known for calming your nerves.